Okay.
All right,
Hello
so
there. Yeah.
super excited because
Yeah.
we're gonna dive into this whole concept of coaching. Because I've always, or at least in the last couple years, I've always wondered how we could leverage other tools and resources to bring co-parents to a level of peace of mind and
Yeah.
cordiality and so on. And so when I learned about coaching and how you could be a coach to help co-parents, I got super excited and actually began the process of becoming a certified coach. So
Okay. Kudos to you.
thank you. And it's been very rewarding. And I just wanted to make sure our listeners really knew what that meant, because that is something that X's and Babies offers. So when you hear coaching, what do you think of?
Uh, I mean, coming from a sports background,
Right.
it's all right. It's like you're gonna introduce a game plan and you're gonna teach people how to execute it to win.
Right. And
So the game plan is for having a successful co-parenting partnership. Is that the best way to say it?
so
Okay.
I thought that is a form of coaching, but that's
Okay.
not the coaching I've been learning.
Okay. All
So
right.
the
My bad.
coaching that I've been learning, no, but that's a common thought. Like my first coach was a sports coach,
Mm-hmm.
and so when I think of coaching, I think someone's gonna hear my problem and then help me strategize.
Yeah.
And really, what coaching is actually empowering you and asking the right questions to empower you to be able to come to some solutions on your own.
Mm-hmm.
And the school of thought that I've been in is we believe that every person is like fully capable of figuring out things on their own. They're resourceful, they're whole, they're naturally creative. And so, with that said, all I have to do as a coach is really listen to you, pick up on values and trends that I'm seeing that you might not be able to see. Help you kind of deepen your understanding of where you're at on things.
Yeah, get
Yeah.
real open and vulnerable.
Yes,
Apparently.
real open and vulnerable. Jeffrey, thank you for volunteering.
Yeah, voluntold. Yeah, it's like
Being
no, no,
fun.
no, no. I volunteered because I actually do believe that Sydney knows what she's doing.
Aw, Jeff, that's nice. Thanks, dude. I do. I can co-sign that.
Okay, yeah.
But no, it's been a great process learning about coaching, learning how to, again, just ask the right questions, and really listening for certain things so that I
Gotcha.
can help bring that forth if it's not naturally just coming forth in some way. So, and yeah, it can be about anything. But in my particular case, I care about co-parents because I do believe that we should be going to coaching before courthouses, like coaching over
Yeah,
courthouses
yeah.
when it comes to co-parenting. That's
Save
my
a lot of heartache.
phrase. Yeah, or coaching and courthouses. Like there is a role for courthouses sometimes in some situations. And so, but what could it look like if people were receiving coaching and just understanding themselves, understanding their partners more,
Mm-hmm.
their co-parent partners, and getting better at communicating or whatever the goal is.
Right.
I think it could really make a difference because I think a lot of parenting and co-parenting, any kind of relationship requires introspection,
Right. Facts.
and just that opportunity to slow down and get real with self.
You're right.
So today we're gonna do a co-parenting coaching session with Jeffrey, so you guys get an idea. He's obviously very excited.
Yay!
Yay! So one of the things we do first in my practice is design our alliance, if you will. So we establish some, let's say, ground rules and some guidelines. Like, what are things that would make you feel more comfortable? What are things that I think will help make sure that we have a successful session together?
Mm-hmm.
Things like that. So for some example, one of the things I tell my clients is, this is your time. So I want you to come in every session with a topic that you want to cover.
Okay.
And I know you picked one, so we'll jump into that. Also, sometimes we'll use silence as a tool. And I'll let you know when we're going to. You're not going to just see me go silent and not say
Cold
anything,
shoulder.
right?
Okay.
Right. Yeah, but so we might use silence as a tool because I feel like we rarely get opportunities in dialogue with someone to just be silent.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
And just like let our thoughts wander and get deeper. Other things I might intrude. I might interrupt a little if I feel like we're getting off of your own agenda that you set, right? And so if you're like, hey, I want to talk about butterflies, and how cool they are and colorful. And then somehow we start talking about, I don't know, you being a Libra, then I'm gonna be like, we can totally we can pivot, but just so you know, it feels like we're getting off of the topic you want
We're
to
not
cover.
talking. Yeah.
We can, but do you really want to? Anyway,
All
so
right.
just calling that out and things like that.
Okay.
Yeah, and so do I have your permission to intrude?
Sure.
Okay,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I'll rarely do it,
Yeah.
but
Yes.
I might do it, especially if I'm feeling like there's something just burning right there in front of us, and I think it would help to just pull it to the surface.
Okay.
What are some things that you want for me to feel more comfortable in this space?
Well, just I think it's more like I'm very sensitive to tone of voice.
Okay.
So just make sure, just be mindful of tone because I come from a very like upbringing, kind of just very aggressive and accusatory tone in the household. So I'm like hypersensitive
Okay.
and I get defensive real easy, especially if I feel like you're attacking me.
Yeah.
I've been working on that for years, but it's still there. So
Good for you. Thank you for sharing that too. That's
yeah.
helpful for me to know. Because I obviously don't want you to feel attacked because we can't get work done there, right?
No.
If you're feeling like you're on the defense.
Yeah.
Yes. And please communicate if something's not working for you, if it's not resonating with you. I want you to let me know. I might offend you, right? Not in this time frame, but like if we were actually having a coaching session, there might be a chance where I'm going to say something that's not going to resonate with you or work for you, and I really want you to like tell me.
Okay.
Because that's not my goal. So we're learning, right? We're going to continue to learn, and if we were to continue doing coaching together, you know, we might be redesigning this alliance as we continue and learn and grow with each other. And so
Yeah.
there's always an open floor, if you will, open door to make shifts and whatnot.
Okay.
Awesome. So what do you want to talk about today?
Well, I do want to receive coaching regarding communication
Okay.
uh, and boundaries. You know, knowing when to stand up for myself, knowing how to pick my battles, so to speak,
Okay.
with communication. Like,
Okay.
how do I navigate that?
Okay. So I heard a few things because each of those could probably be a topic in itself, like a session in itself. So I heard communication boundaries and knowing which battles to pick.
Mm-hmm.
Which one do you want to focus on?
Communication.
Communication. Okay, what about communication?
It's just, I mean, okay, open vulnerability.
Thank you.
Like I like my child's mother and I, we're doing good. We're doing well.
Awesome.
It's just those moments, especially with, it's mainly text messaging.
Okay.
Because I understand that you can get things out of context with text messaging.
Okay.
So I just need to learn, or I just want to know, when do I step up, or when do I say something regarding what's bothering me.
Okay.
With communication.
Okay.
How we communicate. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So, because it always, everything could be better. Like, nothing's perfect, but I just need to know how to read the room and
Okay.
know when to like say something about it.
Okay. Say something when it's bothering you.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So yeah, let's do that. Let's talk about how you can know when and if you should bring to light a disagreement when it comes to the communication. Okay. And what's important about that to you?
Just to know that it's fully understood where I stand, and I understand where she stands.
Right.
So there's no, that feeling that you get where it's like there's always something there, but you can't really pinpoint what exactly it is, but you don't know what to ask.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I just need to know how, like, I guess my perception needs to be worked on, as far as like how do I know to say the right thing in order to get the result that I want, or to hear the answer that I need to hear in order to make the situation better.
Okay. Yeah. And what do you want to be different between right now in this moment and the end of our coaching session?
Just tools.
Okay.
Like mechanisms, tools, whatever you want to call it, that I can use when I get to that moment.
Okay.
So I have something to call on.
Right. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And we definitely, usually if we have more time, we would cultivate certain tools and what we call allies.
Allies, okay.
parts of you that help you. You know, there's parts of us that don't help us, like our saboteurs in coaching that we talk about.
Mm.
Like that nagging voice that tells you maybe you're not good enough, or, you know,
You're
just
not a
tells
good
you to be
father.
afraid of. Okay, is that a saboteur for you?
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah. So those saboteurs, so we can give it a name, maybe even call it Donald or whatever, like whatever resonates, you know, and then do something with it, right? So we call upon those tools, or tools that again help you, like we call it like your leader within or your higher self, and we're like, well, what would that person say? What would your higher self say? And we also do embodiment work too. So you'll like we might get up and like get in the position of like your higher self.
Okay.
It might be a big, broad stance, right? But I do believe that getting into your body and kind of shaking up the space can really open up other things to you, make other things available to you. So I don't know if we'll do that today just because of the setup.
Right.
But I'm just wanted to share that with you. So,
Okay.
okay, tell me about a recent experience where you felt that like part of you where you're like, is this the part where I say something?
I would say it was yes, like for Father's Day.
Oh, shit.
Father's Day.
Uh-huh.
There was clear, like it was regarding me picking up my daughter. We didn't discuss it about me picking up my kid, nor when I was going to, like a time. We didn't say anything, but it seemed like from her point of view, we had a conversation about it, and she said that she thought that I was going to pick up my daughter at a certain time, but we
Okay.
never talked about it.
Okay.
And we were in communication because, you know, we had other stuff we needed to talk about our kid. So it wasn't like we were just absent in communication. We talked recently.
Was it on the phone or text?
It was in text.
Okay.
It was a text, but also on the phone too. We talked,
Okay.
but regarding this particular conversation, it was via text.
Okay.
And when I, you know, responded with, you know, well, I responded with an answer like regarding the time, I was met with a bit of like a, well, you know, you said it's always this, you know, and then she said that it shouldn't. She made it like it was. I can't verbatim, but it was almost like I had an attitude problem, but I didn't think I was. But then I think about it, we're texting each other,
Right. Yeah.
and so when I tried to call her, she didn't answer the phone. So our only method of was a text message. I was like, okay, we're gonna get it out of context.
Yeah.
And right now, at the time, you know, I have car trouble, so I don't have a car, so I had to rely on somebody else to do the transporting back and forth.
Right.
But I was getting bothered because it was Father's Day,
Right.
and we're having this kind of discussion. Even though we've been fine
Right.
recently, we've been good, in my opinion. But then, like today, all days,
Right.
you know, because it could be easy. Like, oh, I thought you was going to pick her up at such and such. Oh, we didn't talk about it.
Right.
Okay, so are you able to do it? Da 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 da.
Right.
Hung up, but then we're texting, if I would have responded the way I wanted to, it would have caused an issue.
Right. How did you want to respond?
I wanted to say something like, we never talked about me picking her up. We never talked about it. I don't have a problem with me picking her up, but it's just that we never talked about it.
Okay.
So, you know, it's pretty much like something like that. But if I were to text that, that could be read in a different way.
Right. Like how?
I like his like attitude. Like, we never talked about me picking her up.
Right. She might hear another time.
Yeah, hit another tone. Especially if you read it, we never talked about me picking her up.
Right.
But I could just say like, we never talked about me picking her up, but I could pick her up when I can.
Okay.
But I just said, just let me know when. And then, you know, she had some things planned. So it was just frustrating like that. And I'm thinking it's Father's Day, and it's like, we've been good. Why today? It's like some needless disagreement,
Right.
you know, something like that.
So
Especially when I called and, you know, answered, because, you know, especially with the tone that she felt like she was like, seeming like I was getting an attitude or being problematic, which was like, no.
Yeah.
So
like when you got the first message from her that suggested, ooh, we might be off base here, or there might be some frustration, like, how did you feel?
defensive.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just like, because I'm thinking, like, why would you? We didn't talk about it. We didn't, and we
Right.
talked. You know, we talked about it. We talked on the phone about different topics regarding Jocelyn. So it could easily be like, okay, what time are you gonna set up Father's Day? You know,
Right.
because she knows I don't have an issue with seeing my daughter. I mean, that's my buddy. So,
Right.
but it was just like that the
That
the it, the
exchange.
exchange and also the assertion of an idea that wasn't discussed.
Which is yeah, it doesn't
Yeah,
feel fair. So when you feel defensive, where does that show up in your body?
in my tone of voice.
Okay.
I'll say my chest and my shoulders
Your chest and your
because
shoulders.
I'm a huffer and puffer, and
Okay.
I'm trying to and I use that to calm down. But
Okay.
seeing as I huff and I puff, it's easy to know when I get defensive.
Okay.
You
Okay.
know,
So
and
let's get in that space right now where
mhm.
you just like where you're feeling defensive, you're feeling your chest and your shoulders. What's here?
What do you mean like what's here?
Like what's when you're in that moment? You're do you like can you imagine feeling that right now?
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
Like right now, just be in that frustration on Sunday, on Father's Day of all days, and you're getting there's assumptions being made. You're feeling defensive. Like what's coming up for you?
Feeling like I'm a bad father,
Mm.
feeling inadequate. You know, I think it's just like hmm, the negative things I think about myself already. It just gets heightened
Okay.
because it feels like it reinforces what I think I am already.
And what part of Jeffrey says that Jeffrey's a bad father?
Hmm. Oh shit. Okay. Well, I cut the cameras off, Russ. I know. It's the Jeff, and it's gonna be hella deep, but it's
Let's
the
go. Let's do it.
yeah,
That's what coaching's about.
it's the Jeff when I first had my daughter and all
Mm-hmm.
the dreams and the
Yeah, let's go.
whew, wow, Sid.
What's coming up for you right now?
I had like I said, I had so many like dreams and ideas for my kid. You know, like when I had her when I was 22. You know, and I just wanted so much. Like I wanted to like give my kid everything,
Mm-hmm.
and I just look back on it now. It's like I have so many regrets because I wish I'd gave my kid more. And it's just like that. It's a regrets for what I did and what I did not do for my daughter. You know, and it haunts me every day.
Let's just sit with that regret right now. Let's just sit with that emotion, that big emotion. Let's just sit with it. What's here for you right now?
My kid's amazing. You know, like my daughter's dope. My daughter's dope as fuck, and it's just like every time I talk to her every single day, and you know, she's so happy to hear me, be around me. Like she never says no, I'm cool, Dad, or no, I'm good. Like you know, my daughter's 13 now, so she's at that age where you think you know well, it's not cool to hang out with your parents, but my daughter still loves rocking with me. And every time she does that, I get happy. But then in the back of my mind, I'm always like, you could have done so much more.
What do you think she would say to that comment?
She doesn't care.
Right.
But it's just me though, right? Because I wanted my biggest regret is the fact that I broke a promise to myself and not having a family. like not being married and having kids. Like I didn't. I was so. I didn't want to be a baby daddy,
Right.
But I made decisions. I made choices.
Right. I hear you. And so.
Mm, fucking Syd.
that
Fuck you, dude. Oh, man, I was not.
but that was there. That was right there at the surface too.
Yes.
Like it was right. And so, as you're thinking about this part of you that's saying, you know, oh, am I doing the best I can? But then you also see your daughter smiling and like I know it, I see it, right? She loves. Everyone sees it. Everyone knows how much she loves to be around you. So like, what's happening with that disconnect? What do we do with that disconnect?
It's me. I know it's me. That's when everybody, when anybody says anything about me being a father, even though on surface it's not true.
What do they say about you being fat? What do you mean?
Not like there's been a couple of instances where I've like knocked a couple of niggas out. Excuse me.
We being honest.
My bad.
No, let's go.
I've gotten to altercations with a couple of dudes who have attacked my fatherhood. And that thing that I have is on the surface so much as if it is true,
Right.
but it's not. But it's a regret I have, right? Because I'm afraid that it is. So it's almost like that thing I have, that regret, that anger I have about it. When somebody says something about it, I finally have a target.
Right.
Because I can't beat myself up all day, otherwise I'll never be able to go to bed.
Right.
So when a couple of guys in the past have said something, I was like, oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
That's that saboteur
Yeah.
personified. Yes.
You've campaigned and now you're elected now. So
You know what's funny though, Jeffrey, is when you said when people talk about how I am as a father, I had to ask what you meant because it was that my first thought
I
when you
know.
said that was all the great things.
I know, and that's what bothered me because like everybody always, not that I ask, they volunteer. Like, Jeff, you're a great father. You're a great dad. What are you talking about? Shut the fuck up. You're a great father. But it's almost like I seek out the minority because that's how I really feel.
Right. And a lot of us do that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So when her mom said those things, it just reinforces how I've always felt since my daughter's been born. Especially because she wasn't born into wealth, and I couldn't take her on trips around the world, and I couldn't have her learn a new language, and I couldn't put her in a stable environment to where she could just run around the living room.
Right.
All these big dreams I had, and now she's like 13, and I've gotten better with it, but it still like hurts,
Right.
and I'm almost like scared of running out of time with her childhood.
Right. Right.
And so when things like that happen, it just goes back to that.
So let me ask you this. You mentioned like going around the world and what's going on for you? What's up?
I was not planning on saying any of this, man. I thought it was gonna be a standard Q&A, bro. But you asked me the right question, and
Didn't I say that? I kicked this off.
yeah, you asked the right question and hit me in the chest. I was not ready.
So I mean, let's stay there then a little bit longer because it feels like we're not ready to leave that spot.
I'm ready to leave.
You're like, I want to go home.
I want to go home, bro. I don't even want to do this on camera, bro. All right.
Thank you. Thank you. Because what you're like, I'm the one asking questions, but I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
Like with the guilt and feeling like, oh, I wish they had this, I wish I had that, and but that speaks to the love, doesn't it? That speaks to the love that you would be so on yourself about providing this life. But there's people who aren't even feeling an ounce of anything because they haven't provided a certain life. Not because they're content, but because they just don't even care.
Right. And I can't understand those people.
Right.
Like to hear, like, willing absentee parents. Like I don't.
And content with it. Too.
And okay, they could just
Yeah.
move on. it's so weird to me because it's kind of like, and of course you always look at every child as yours. It's like, how can you do that to your child? But it doesn't
Right.
matter. But it's still a child. But
Right.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't want to
Right.
like pivot too
We
much.
totally could.
Yeah.
So okay. What what could it look like for you to what could your parenting and your relationship with self look like if you gave yourself some more grace in that area?
It's $1 million question, right? I don't. It's hard. It's hard to answer because I don't. I feel like I don't have the luxury to because I'm always like I'm going against the shot clock. Like there's time. Like
Mm-hmm.
a bill's coming up. I have to do something for Josh. I have to do something for me. But then I got choices to make. And then but I don't even know what that like. Can you define what grace means? Because
Yeah, let's talk about it.
I hear what people say that, but I don't even know
Right.
what that means.
Grace is, and I love that term. I learned that recently too, because I've obviously we've heard the word grace, which if you know anything about a Christian church,
No, right, right, right.
right? But grace really means self love to me. It's allowing love for others, but like it's really allowing someone to fail, like allowing yourself to not be perfect, and just giving them grace, giving them what you expect God to do, which is like, I know you're imperfect, and I love you anyways, and so giving yourself that permission to be like, hey, I'm not perfect, and I still might not like the things, but I'm gonna give myself grace. I'm gonna give myself a little, take some of the angst out, take some of the shame
Hmm.
around it, take some of the shame out. It's not taking away the accountability.
Right.
It's not taking away the impact. It's just taking away some of the ickiness from the feeling. So, what would it look like if you gave yourself, Jeffrey, grace in this shame that you're feeling around? I mean, that's the word I'm using. I don't know if that's how you feel,
Mm-hmm.
but around the regret and the expectations and things like that.
I don't know. Like it's so crazy. I'm trying to think of an answer. I don't know what that looks like.
Would you? So this is another thing we do in coaching. It's about accountability. That's something you don't always get in therapy.
Right.
And because therapy different between coaching and therapy, right?
Yeah.
So with coaching, you know, I'm always gonna have an activity or like an accountability thing for someone to do. So by the time we meet next time, they will have deepened their learning. And people will say the coaching doesn't happen during the session; it's actually what happens after the session. So and you can. I'm gonna throw something at you. You can throw it back and say no. You can say yes, I'll commit to doing that, or you can counter offer like, no, I won't do that, but I will commit to doing it for a shorter amount of time or doing this activity. So I really want you to spend some time thinking about that question. Like, what would be different for you in your life if you gave yourself more grace around this area?
And grace defined as being self love.
Self love and just like a get out of jail free card, like taking away the punitive, putting yourself down, getting on yourself about it. It's like, hey, it is what it was. It wasn't great. I still don't love that, but I'm gonna give myself some. I was a young kid. I was as a kid raising a kid. Essentially, I mean, you're 22. That's not technically a kid, but like it is. We're young. I was 23, and so I'm gonna take some of that. I'm gonna give myself a pass. I'm gonna still push myself. I'll still hold myself accountable.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, I'm gonna just let myself be.
Ease up.
You know, like does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, what would be different now? Because it's still with you, and it impacts you even in a recent conversation. What would have been different about that conversation? What would be different about how you engage with her now? What would be different about how you make decisions now if you gave yourself grace about this thing that's really hurting you? And just think about it. You don't have to have an answer now.
Yes, I don't have one.
Right.
So I got to take some time.
That's beautiful. Take your time. You don't have. We don't need to make answers up. Like over the next week, do you commit to thinking about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can think about that.
And how do you like to be held accountable? Will you reach out to someone? Have them reach out to them? Do you want to leverage me?
No, I feel better people reaching out to me because I got my mind on a million other things. And I genuinely do want to achieve stuff, but it's my mind slips. So I need people to reach out to me and it's
Okay.
like, uh, yeah,
Okay. So I will reach out to you in a week. Today is.
Monday.
Thank you. I'm gonna put in my calendar as soon as we jump off this, but because I also struggle. But I'm gonna check. Did I have your permission to check in with you?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right.
It's time's up. Kind of good. I'm done.
Yeah. You gave it your all. So okay,
Yeah.
what are some other things you wanna leave this session thinking about?
Well, that was a lot just now. I was like I said, wasn't expecting that. Honestly, like what I just got from that was I have to be right with myself first before I cultivate the relationship that I want with somebody else, especially with my co-parent. Because if my foundation is crooked, then it's always going to be slanted.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what I just got from that.
That gave me chills. That's so real. That is so real.
Right.
And it's like a collective. It's gotta, in my opinion, it's gotta be a little bit of both. It's like definitely doing the work on yourself, and then also doing the work with the co-parent.
Right.
Maybe one thing happens before the other. Maybe it ebbs and flows. Maybe it's happening at the same time. But yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
agree with you 1,000%.
Well,
Thank you so much. You signed the consent form.
I did.
I'm just kidding.
What the hell, man? Wasn't ready for that.
Oh, yes. All right. Well, thank you, Jeffrey. Yes.
All
Appreciate you.
right. All right.